All right, hello, what's up everybody? I just wanted to record this quick video as a response to all the lovely responses from you guys that you guys had left in the video about wearing a mask at work. I'm really appreciative of all the people who left a like and left a comment there and even subscribed. I'm really surprised about that. So very cool, I just didn't expect that many people to see that video. I did see some people had left comments about like, why don't you just take the advice? Why, it's a little bit kind of like, oh, are you being a little bit of a snowflake by wearing a mask? You're not able to just talk with people and absorb the information that they're telling you and just take it to heart. And that's kind of not what I'm saying. Generally, I'm quite open for a lot of feedback, critical feedback, positive feedback, whatever the case. I just generally like to know like how I'm generally doing. The reason I kind of recorded that video and kind of what I was talking about a little bit more is that everything or some of the things that the companies or leadership is going to push onto you are not actually skills that are going to benefit you for the long term. And so, for example, obviously, if they're like, hey, like, you're doing this part of the code wrong, you should do it like this. Yes, just go ahead and take that advice. But just an example in my own life, in one of the companies I was working for, a very large company, they basically had a shift in leadership. And so the previous leadership was more data orientated. So it was like based off the data that we've been looking at here, this is the thing that we are suggesting for the next quarter. And so that was kind of how it worked on. So it was a lot of like, it's not about who is in power, who gets to make the decision. It was really more of a discussion based group that was more focused on like, let's try to find the right answer rather than just letting, the hippo strategy, which is highest paid person's opinion in the room, which, has its pros and cons. And so, for example, when the new leadership had came in, the whole company culture kind of changed a bit. Previously, back then, it was more like trying to figure out what data sources should we use, how should we be looking at this data, and then with that, we're able to make our next steps forward. However, with the new leadership, it was a little bit more focused on just making sure whatever the new president wanted happened. And so really, this was a bit of a shame for me just because I was able to see so many smart people bring up their concerns and then just get slapped out. And eventually they got laid off. And so the idea was like, oh, why don't you just, listen to what they're telling you and take it to heart? Well, from that example, the company was telling me to just shut the fuck up, don't trust my brain, don't trust any of the skill sets that I've learned, and just literally listen to what the person above me says. And, from being part of that organization when back in the day, it was more about whoever has the best idea wins. You can totally imagine how being told just to shut up and just listen to what we have to say because we know more, even if the data points otherwise, is not going to sit that right for me. And so that's a little bit more of the context in terms of what I'm talking about is like, you're going to be hearing all this critique, and sometimes the type of critique that you're getting from is not coming from a good place. Of course, like if you're in a more teacher-student or mentor-student type of relationship, the person who's giving you the advice has already kind of internalized your story, your context, your situation, and how to move forward from that, right? But I would just say that in general, when you're working at these large organizations, the person who is giving you advice most likely has some sort of reason for giving you that advice, right? So potentially I could be your manager or something like that, and I really, really need a hard, well-performing Q4. And let's say that the only way we're really going to be able to do that is by making everyone who is currently working with us work 2 times harder. And I get into pretend I bring that person to a meeting. I'm like, hey, you've been doing a really, really good job. You've been giving 100%, but honestly, like, it's just not enough. And like, you need to be staying like past 5, past 6. Like, if you're not staying till 8 p.m. every single day, then honestly, you're not doing the business good. If you were to get advice like that, are you going to be like, oh yes, I should internalize that and really make that part of my personality? Or is that just some bullshit that a motherfucker is trying to push on you so that you're able to do more work so that eventually once they reach their certain KPIs, that motherfucker get a big ass bonus, but you don't get the bonus? You know, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where the only person, not the only person, but in general, the person who understands you the most, understands all your experiences, understands where you can go forward, understand what you're good at, what you're not good at. Really, the only person who's going to understand that is you. And so that's essentially what I was trying to say in terms of you're going to be receiving feedback, critique from all different sorts of places. It could be your parents, it could be some family friends, it could just be the stranger, it could be your boss, all these different places, right? And you just have to consider for the fact that all this type of feedback is coming from different locations with different goals. And all I'm saying is, in general, when you're working in a business type of environment, they're not looking at what's best for you. They're not thinking about how your current experience can be brought here. They're just thinking from, for this quarter, I want to perform 15, 20% better. And so what are some shit I can say to this guy to make him feel like he's not doing enough and he should do 15 to 20% better? And all I'm saying is, if you're hearing and you're really starting to recognize that the type of feedback that you're getting is more self-serving for the person who says it rather than actually helping you in your life, then you should ignore it. And just like in the video I mentioned before, if you're wearing the mask and you're getting that advice, nod your head, say yes, be like, oh yeah, I really do need to work a little bit harder right now. I feel like, I'm already putting in 100%, but I can put in 150% and really make this happen. If you have to lie, if you have to agree with some random bullshit that someone is pushing on you, at the time you can. And that's the power of the mask. The power of the mask is that for me as a human being, if someone were to tell me like, just trying to gaslight me into working harder, as a human being, I'm not putting up with that, right? Like that's going to hurt me, and knowing that like he's really speaking on my work, like, and he feels like it's not enough, that's going to hurt me, right? But if I'm wearing a mask, I know I'm in a play, and I know that right now in this play, the actor is, saying this one thing to me. How would my mask or that character in that movie react to someone's being told that? And that's the way that I kind of bounce off like these kind of like unhelpful or more self-serving type of feedback, is essentially you respond to it as you would if you were playing that role. However, of course, the human being in yourself, you can think whatever, right? If they were in that same situation where they're asking me to work more hours, like as a human being, I'm thinking, fuck this, I need to find another job ASAP. Like, motherfuckers do not need that much time of me. But as the professional mask, you gotta say like, yeah, like I can put in a little bit more effort. I've already been putting in 100, but let me put in an additional 150%. Let me see just how much I can grow, right? And of course I don't actually believe that, but it's just something that like, as you get better at playing your role, you'll start trying to better understand what that actor would say in that type of situation. So that's essentially my follow-up for that video, is just not all advice is good advice. And so if you're not getting good advice, but you still have to react to it as if it was good advice, it's better to act with a mask on rather than with your personal heart, because the vast majority of time when people have these self-serving recommendations for you, they're not thinking about you, they're thinking for them. And so because of that, in general, it probably doesn't even benefit you. So that's all I'm saying, is just, think a little bit more about where you are at and your situation and the type of comments and feedback that you're receiving from others, and just really consider whether it actually makes sense for you before you're going to, officially bring this into your personality and make this part of your heart, right? And so that's essentially all I was trying to say. So I appreciate you guys for watching. That's the end of this video, I suppose. Let's see how it goes. Appreciate you guys.